Okay, so good afternoon, ABM and STEM students. So this is actually a pre-recorded video because I will not be able to have my synchronous online class tomorrow, which is September 3 on 4 to 5 p.m. because we are requested to attend the inset seminar for teachers. So I have recorded this video the night before our class so that in my absence, you can still learn. So I will upload this video on YouTube and I will also give you a copy on Google Classroom so that you may be able to access both videos. So this afternoon, I will be discussing Chapter 1, the nature and inquiry of research. So I will now share my screen. Okay, so Chapter 1 is the nature of inquiry and research. So let us now first define research. So what is research? It is the process of obtaining information to seek solutions to problems is called research. It may also involve formulating a tentative answer to research questions. This tentative answer is called hypothesis, which may be tested and verified by engaging in research. For short, research improves the quality of life. Now, that is why a lot of people will conduct research in order to provide solutions to problems. So research is important to different fields, especially in the field of science, technology and engineering, in business and advertising, in humanities and social sciences, and even in technology. Or even in technical vocational, it is still important. So research is important in science, technology, and engineering because researchers in these fields conduct experiments to better understand the physical world. Research is also important in business and advertising. Marketing research is important in business to determine the customer needs and satisfaction. Now, for us to better deliver our services and products, now we need to know what are the needs and the demands of our customers or our target market. So research is also important. We need to conduct a survey for you to better understand what are the demands of each customer and how do we satisfy their needs and demands. Research is also important in the fields of humanities and social sciences. The behaviors, beliefs, and perceptions of people on certain social issues are important to psychologists and social scientists. So there will be no breakthroughs or wala tayong mga new discoveries without the help of research. So that is how vital research is to daily life. Educational research is also essential in understanding how today's youth learn in the context of social media and accessible technology. So for us to deliver quality education and of course to know what are the different strategies that we need to apply when it comes to teaching our students, research has also been done by several people or let's say teachers in the academe. Now, let's define quantitative research and qualitative research. In research class, there are two kinds of research. You have qualitative and quantitative. So qualitative, on the other hand, is more on the study of the phenomena. Although the content and the format of a qualitative research is much more shorter than the quantitative research, but the data collection itself is very tedious. At the same time, it's more on the feedback and also through interviews, observations, open-ended questionnaires, and focus group discussions. Unlike quantitative research, mag-una dyan na si qualitative research class sa pag-gather og data, pag-write sa ihang research problems. Unlike in quantitative nga makinahanglan pa jud ka mo basa og related literature first for you to construct a quantitative research paper. In qualitative, dili pa ka allowed mo basa una because it will influence you. Dapat dili man ka bias when you conduct qualitative because you are more on the reactions, or let's say the responses of your respondents from interviews, no, from observations, because you're more on the behavior. Or if you expose them to a situation, how will they react? No, mo nakalabanan sa qualitative. No, bagay ni siya sa psychology. No, if you're going to study human behavior or social sciences. Ang data collection is much more lengthy because sometimes it would take months, no, for you to collect data other than in quantitative, no, nga pwede na weeks. Again, no, it's more on the perspective of the participants. Dapat dili ka ma-influence on the related literature that you have read. No, usually, kung ano dito, yung ilang perspective na mo kuha. So, nindot siya lang taon pag-una because when you look at the content of a qualitative research, gamay ra, no, gamay ra ang chapters, no, may ubang parts nga dili siya makita sa qualitative research pero naa sa quantitative research. Now, quantitative research on the other hand is more on numerical data. So meaning, it's a more on very robust ang iyahang structure. Why? Because usually you would need a research instrument, and then before na nimo i-distribute si research instrument class, moagi pa jud na siya og different statistical methods, like iagi pa nimo siya og test of reliability, no, test of validity, which includes statistics. No, and when you collect your data, you need to compute or interpret them using statistics as well. So more on numerical data. No? Unlike ni qualitative nga, more siya on the perspective of the participants, ilang responses, kay interview nimo sila, dira ka mag-base sa imong data, no, more on written, no, written accounts of their experiences, no, or observe ka, no, kung saan changes silang behavior, no, during, so 1 month nga imo silang exposed to certain situation. Si quantitative class is more on set of questions, no, and then nakay basihan nga variables, of course. I-measure nimo ang variables ana nga research, and then when you gather data, numerical data, imuha siyang i-compute, no, or i-interpret mo siya using statistics. So, close-ended questionnaire siya, class. Mayong gitag close-ended is fixed na siya. Lahi sa qualitative nga mag-change ang iyahang research design from time to time, no, mag-change pod ang iyahang questionnaire from time to time, na madungag, na mausab. In quantitative, it's close-ended. Okay. So even, no, ang pag-collect pod nimo sa respondents is also obtained using a sample size. Statistics na Japon siya. No, so sometimes we use good and skates, no, sa test of validity, different statistical methods such as simple percentage method, z-test, t-test, ANOVA, no, chi-square, daghan jud kaayo compared to qualitative na more on written accounts ra. Okay, let's now compare, no, quantitative and qualitative according to the following elements. So first element is assumption. In qualitative research, the world is complex and no single variable or number can adequately explain such phenomena because it's open-ended class, no, and at the same time you're more on the human behavior, no, or how they react. So it's complex, no, it cannot be explained through numbers. So the world is constructed from the point of view of the participants. Again, ang ilang method of data gathering is more on interview and observations. So you are basing from the point of view of the participants. Ang ilahad yung real experiences. Physical reality is understood from the perspective or stories of the participants. That is why, no, when you conduct a social experiment, and that is part of qualitative, when you do observations, no, usually class, kuan jud siya, it will take months. Kay of course, no, dili man dayon na changes sa ilang behavior, no, or na changes sa way they react. No, sometimes it will take months, no, and gradual ra siya. Ang quantitative research, on the other hand, is it can be explained by laws of nature and science. Data can be objectively and reliably drawn from sample and accurately reflect reality. Reality. So, that is why class, no, nga moingon siya very accurate si quantitative because ang pag-prepare palandaan sa research questionnaire moagi siya different process. So I hope nga makaagi pud ta ana, no, because of course, no, when first for us to know pila ka book atong tag-questionnaire, Mugamit tag sample size, so mo compute pud ta ana, no? From the total population, you will only get a sample, let's say is 5%, no, of the total population as a representative to answer the questionnaires. The questionnaire itself has to undergo test of validity and reliability para ma-correct ang mga mistakes at the same time, ma-prove jud siya nga very accurate and reliable ang imuhang research questionnaire. Once you have already distributed or administer your questionnaire, the data that will be gathered will also be computed using statistics. No? So, kuan jud siya, muagi jud siya og process. And it has to be accurate. Research goal and purpose. To understand social phenomena, seek meaning and interpret reality as seen from the perspective or stories of the participants. Or ang ilahang purpose pod or end goal sa qualitative, to gain insights, describe events and patterns, and increase understanding of ideas, feelings, beliefs, and motives of the participants. So it's more on mukondak man nga study to better understand, no, unsa ang ilahang ma-feel once they are exposed in this situation, and then based on their perspective or from the stories of the respondents or the participant. We do not call the respondents in a qualitative research as a respondent. Kung mo-participate ka sa research and it's a qualitative research, we call them as participants because they are exposed in different situations. Ang ilahang mang experience or ang ilahang feedback from that situation is mo na ang imong i-gather. No? But in quantitative, we call them respondents. Kay they only respond to the questionnaire that you give them. And sometimes limited ra pud ang responses ilang mahatag because di man siya, unlike sa qualitative nga interviews yun siya class, no, interview din mo sila, so endless ang ilahang kunya, lain-lain pa jud, no, kada participant lain-lain ang ilahang experience, no, lain times nga very similar pero naapoy times class nga maglain-lain ang ilang experiences, no, lain-lain ang ilahang feedback, so very customized, unlike sa quantitative ka, either yes or no ra, so naara jud anang duha ilang ma-answer, or scale of 1 to 10 ra siya, no? So ana nang kalabanan basta quantitative, no? So para nila ilang end goal is to explain the causes of the phenomena ngano natabo man ni siya, no? Or what do you think is the relationship between this variable and variable 2, variable 1 and variable 2, and then of course, no, through how do you measure that? Through obtaining, of course, numerical analysis, gamit ng statistics. Sampling, so small, purposive, and context specific. So, for example, if your study is related to, let's say, single nga women, so kay ilang behavior abi, or let's say a specific generation like generation Z or generation X ba dun. So very kuan lang, no, specific ra jud nga kanira jud sila ang participants sa akong study because no sila man akong expose ani nga situation. The study is related, no, to their status or kung unsa ang ilahang kind of lifestyle, di ba? Si quantitative, on the other hand, class is more on randomized and controlled. Meaning, katong mga dagko kaayo nga population, like for example, no, ang imuhang study is ang math anxiety sa mga students. Now, what are the factors affecting math anxiety among senior high school students? Yeah, it's too big naman po, no, if you're going to get the response of all senior high school students in San Carlos City. So what you will do is, kung sample size, no, 5% from Julio, no, 5% of the total population from Julio, from CSR, from CSTR, from Tanyon, that will represent each school. So, siya. And then, how do you get those sample size? Through statistics Japon. So, you will need a computation for you to get an exact 5% of each population in each schools. So, unlike Nikoan, it's purposive, like, if kinsala, like, it's, akong study is among single women or students ra abi. So, mamili na po ka, no? Or, for example, expose na ko ang mga ages 12 to 15. So, specific kaayo nga ages 12 to 15 ra. Unlike ni quantitative nga kung students have to get at least a sample size of the entire population. No, dili ka magpili ra. Although there are times nga it's randomized and non-random, but still you need to use statistics, no, sa a sampling method, no, for you to get the representative of the entire population. Unlike sa qualitative, no, pwede ra ka magpili dira, no, depende sa imong liking. Pero dili pud ko nga big deal nimo, but it has to be ang imong participants related pud sa imong study. So muna kalabanan. Okay, data collection techniques. So kalabanan, no? So again, I did mention in qualitative research, it's more on interviews, no? Ang perspective ni participant ang atong i-collect. So usually ang ilahang data collection techniques will be in a form of informal interviews, no? Document collection, observation, like mag-keep ka og journal, i-observe nimo si participant, no? Unsa man ang changes siyang behavior from day 1 to day 30. Artifacts, field notes, and even group discussions. So for example, expose nimo sila aning situation or environment, and then afterwards, ipag-group discussion din nimo sila. No, let them write unsa man ilang na-experience when they were exposed in that situation. Si quantitative, on the other hand, is more on administration of tests. So mo provide ka, let's say, 50 items yung survey questionnaire, or dili mo nagtaas na po kayong 50 na. So ito butag 10 to 15 item nga survey questionnaire. And then, of course, mo na siya imo i-administer. So, kung sikon more on interview, kana more siya on test and questionnaires. Okay, research design. Again, no, kung open-ended ang questionnaire ni qualitative, appeal po na iyang research design class. It's more flexible, it's evolving because siguro sa first time na nag-observe si researcher, naka-decide siya nga mo niyang research design. Pag after a month, na usab naman ang behavior siya mga participants. So yan na pong usbon ang research design to fit, no, the data that you have gathered, or let's say the observation that you have gathered from your participants. So more siya on, mag-change siya from time to time. Unlike ni quantitative nga kung mauna dyan na siya yung research design, until the end of the research process, maura dyan na siya class. So it's more structured. It's already predetermined, meaning identify na nimo na siya before ka mag-proceed sa data gathering, no? So before pa lang daan nga mag-distribute ka sa imong survey questionnaire, naka-determine na ka og research design. So again, very robust si quantitative. A hypothesis. So very tentative. It evolves during the course of the study. So again, not only questionnaire ang open-ended or ga-evolve o si research design, sa hypothesis po. So from time to time, mag-agad mong good si qualitative class kung unsa ang changes sa behavior ni participant. If ang first time, medyo dili pa kay drastic ang changes, no? Mo ni mo na-observe, okay ra iyahang behavior. Wala mong guta kabalo, once nga ma-expose sila ang nga situation, kabot sa next month, makita nimo nga there is a change na sa iyahang behavior, no? O sa iyahang reaction towards that situation, di mag-usab jud ka, no? Sa imong hypothesis tanan, no? To adjust to the current situation of the participants. Next, si hypothesis ni quantitative is specific, testable, and stated at the onset of the study. Like the research design, it's already predetermined. Okay? The hypothesis usually comes right after the statement of the problem or the research problems. So usually the statistician will decide for you. No? So generalizability. So in general, qualitative research assumes that each individual, culture, or research setting is unique. Because of its uniqueness, generalizations are dependent on the context of the study. That is true. No, because your participants, no, for example, you will get at least 5 participants or 10 participants to participate in your social experiment or in your qualitative research, and you will expose them sa different environments, no, all throughout the duration of the observation or of the interview, and then dili man tanan parehas og perspective sa ilahang na experience, na may uban nga kanang lain ang ilahang perspective, na uban nga wala ray changes, na uban nga grabe kay ka drastic ang changes. no, sa ilang behavior, no, kana stressed sila during the duration of the study, no. So unique jud ang each individual or each participant. While on quantitative research, it assumes that a researcher can discover laws of nature that may add to reliable predictions and control of phenomena. During inquiry process, the researcher seeks for regularities in samples of individuals or groups. So, nangita si respondent, si researcher og similarities or regularities sa individual. So, for example, out of 50, pangitaon niya ang kinsa to ang majority ni answer og yes or ni answer og no. So, majority have agreed or disagreed, mo na ang iya pong i-interpret no sa study. Okay. Data analysis is ongoing and inductive. Analysis is repeated until a plausible and credible explanation of the data is arrived at. Qualitative data obtained from field notes, observations, and other techniques are summarized for codes, patterns, and themes. While in quantitative class, it's deductive and statistical. So this implies that numeric data are subjected to statistical analysis that may involve descriptive, parametric, non-parametric, inferential, and analytical procedures. So usually it's very common for right after that you have collected your data, and then you will write, let's say, chapter 3, which is, of course, no, ang kanang results and discussions nimo nga chapter. Dira class, no, imo na nang i-interpret imong data nga na-collect using statistical analysis. So for example, descriptive statistics, kunya nagamit ko og simple percentage method, meaning how many percent answered yes, how many percent answered no. Out of katong nga percentage, asa ang pinakadako nga percent. So for example, from the 10 items, majority of them answered yes. So meaning na ay positive na response, no, from the survey. Or majority have answered no. So nga ni answer man sila og no. Probably majority of them agreed nga na ay negative effect, no, ang outcome aning ang topic aning study. So muna siya. And then of course i-compute na nimo using statistics. Okay, sa may pagkuha sa pila ka percentage ang ni-answer og yes og no if wala po kaning ning agi og statistical analysis. Hindi man pwede nga ihapon na nimo ani 5 ra kabuk ang ning no, 5 kabuk ang ning yes. For it to be accurate, kinahanglan dyan na siya ang statistical analysis. Okay, role of the researcher. So unsa ang role, no, ni researcher all throughout the duration of the research. So deliberately interacts with participants in a personal way, meaning when they conduct observations and interviews, no, they need to also connect with the participants. So they are free to use intuition and judgment as basis for deciding how to frame questions and how to conduct observations. So, siya, no, you are given the freedom, no, nga how do I conduct observations, no, unsaon man ako ang pag-set up sa interview. So tagaan ka na nila og freedom, no? Unlike in quantitative, it's objective, impartial, and detached, meaning you are not allowed to interfere because it would influence the response of the respondents, diba? Or the answer of the respondents. So meaning, igo na jud ka mo muhatag sa questionnaire, imuhadang ipasabot sila how to answer. If they have clarifications, imuhang i-clarify, then that's it, no? Kung ako muhatag, mga ikog permission na mo-conduct og research once permission is given, o hatag dayon ka og questionnaire and collect, then thank you, that's it, no? Pero wala jud siya marag personal connection. So there is intersubjective reliability, thus researchers adhere strict to the scientific method or to a formal set of procedure in collecting and analyzing data. So di mo ka mag-interview personally with your participants individually, no? Sa quantitative, pangayon na mo ilang response. O kindly answer this questionnaire, and then di mo sila hilaptan para dili ma-influence ang ilahang responses, o check lang yes or no dira, or ilang lang i-rate from 1 to 10 and then submit. Ay hatag sa imuha. So muna kalabanan. Okay. Let's now proceed to strengths and limitations. Now, in practical research class, it is advised that you will conduct a quantitative research. No, majority are taking quantitative, no, even in graduate school. Kay, although, no, medyo interesting si qualitative because you're going to observe people, no, their behavior, no, but medyo lengthy siya and it's very tedious class. Especially kung it's difficult to conduct interviews, no? Nga there's a pandemic and it's really difficult to connect virtually because not all will answer um, your interview or is okay for an interview. So, to make it easier, masking sa graduate school, no, gaingon dun sila class. Mas dali, even though taas kaayo ang content ni quantitative compare ni qualitative, pero mas dali i-complete si quantitative. Sometimes ganito, there are researchers that who would like to proceed with qualitative, no? Sometimes you're advised by the dean or the research advisor to opt for quantitative or pangutanon sila if kaya ba nila or ilaha pang i-assess ang student no if kaya ba nila to conduct a qualitative research. Kay it's too complex, no? It's very difficult siya. Interesting siya, nindot siya kaayo mag-interview, mag-observations, but it's time consuming and it's really difficult. So what are the strengths and limitations of quantitative research? Since all of you, no, will pursue a quantitative research, so one of the strengths of quantitative is it uses robust instrumentation, meaning it's really accurate, no? Fully bodied research instrument, which may yield results that can be generalized to a larger population in other research settings. The limitations, on the other hand, it employs inflexible research design, meaning you are not allowed to change the questions, or for example, if the researcher the respondent would like to add something which is not found in the questionnaire, dili po na to siya dili mo siya open-ended. Close-ended ang quantitative research. So it allows for greater accuracy of data because variables are isolated, manipulated, and rigorously controlled. Yes, that's true, no? You can control your variables. Your independent variable can be manipulated in order to yield results from your dependent variable. So later on, I will explain what are the different kinds of variables in research. The limitations, on the other hand, participants have limited participation on the design and structure of the questionnaire. Because it's robust, it's inflexible, you're not allowed to provide additional, for example, na ay gusto i-add si researcher, nga wala sa questionnaire. Na dili pud siya ka-add diha dayon because structured naman good ang quantitative research. Okay, the strengths of quantitative research is also the results can be replicated, analyzed, and compared with similar studies due to the use of robust instrumentation. No, because very accurate, research instrument. That is why when you produce a research paper and it has already results and ma-publish mo na siya online, other researchers can also compare from your results because it's accurate. No, pwede nila makuhaan og basis. No, kadi man gud siya basta-basta lang nga results class nga. It's subjective, no? Objective kaayo si quantitative research. Okay. Limitations lang, on the other hand, numerical data do not provide detailed accounts of the phenomenon and do not capture accounts of human perception. Meaning, the experiences of your respondents cannot be recorded individually. Because again, limited ang questions, di ba? Mo answer sila yes or no. Naman tendency po dira nga lahi po ng experience ni respondent A kaysa ni respondent B. Pero since limited naman specific ang questionnaire and then pareha sa mga questions tanan nga ma-receive, then that's it, dili ma-record ang human perception. Okay. Numerical data allows summary of huge amount of information and comparisons across categories over time. While the limitation is research is carried out in a laboratory setting and not in a real world setting. That's true, although sometimes we go out and then we distribute our survey questionnaires for people to answer, but still dili jud nimo sila ma-capture in the actual environment. Like for example, expose nimo sila ani nga environment, makita jud nimo dira nga how their behaviors change when mas stress sila or let's say butang sila ani nga environment. Igura jud kamo hatag receive and mag laboratory setting ra. Personal bias is avoided because quantitative data has established procedures and very systematic. But the limitation lang is pre-selected options in a questionnaire do not necessarily reflect how the participants really feel about the questions being asked. So, usually in a quantitative research manggod class, ikaw manggod, no, if it's a self-made questionnaire or a, let's say, I forgot the term, no? Kanang ready-made na nga questionnaire, no? Nga imurang ko. Na may times class nga mukuha po kag mga ready-made questionnaires from other researchers, but you need to ask the permission. Pero most of the time, if your study is new, no, wala pa siya gi-conduct sa uban nga researchers, you will have to make your own self-made questionnaire. Okay, standardized questionnaire dito siya na hinumdum na ako. Ang standardized questionnaire is kanang nahimo na siya sa ubang researcher. Yeah, since ang ilahang research is similar to your research topic, kuhaon na nimo ang ilahang research questionnaire imong hulmon ug imong i-revise. But given the fact na you have to ask permission, kay mahulog man na nga nag-violate sa copyright laws, no? Kay sila ba gahimuan na igura ka nang hulang or nangayo og kanang murag sample lang, no? Nga imurang i-revise ang ilang questionnaire. That could also happen, no, in quantitative. If your study has not been explored by other researchers before, then that's the time that you will make your own quantitative, or let's say, you will make your own self-made questionnaire. So, usually class kung maghimo kag self-made questionnaire, dili man tanan masulod nimo, no? For example, limited ra ka into 20 to 30 questions. And then dili siya nimo ma-capture tanan nga feedback, no, ni respondents. Kaya ito'y butang imong respondents are 100 to 150 respondents. Unya, naiuban sila ha nga ang ilang experience ani nga question is lahi, no? Yeah, dili man sila ka-provide ana og feedback kay tungod kung unsay mong gibutang dila mura po dilang ansiran, no, dili man sila pwede ka-edit ana sa questions nga ay lahi akong experience ani, so ginahan ko modungag, no, dili man na pwede sa quantitative. So unlike in qualitative nga we can record, no, what the participants truly feel, no, in the research topic or the problem. In quantitative, since predetermined naman gud ang questions, then dili jud sila ka provide o feedback nila. They can provide feedback through answering yes or no, but what I meant about dili sila ka-provide og feedback is, for example, nasa sila other nga mga feedback nga gusto i-input nga wala sa questionnaire, ya dili sila kabutang kay tungod dili man present ang katong specific question ilang gusto tani mabutang sa questionnaire kay limited naman to 10 to 15 questions. So mga ing-ana, no? Again, very limited ra ang questions nga i-present ni quantitative research. Okay, since we already defined is research, and then we also provide a comparison between quantitative and qualitative research. So let's now proceed to variables. So variables are commonly used in research class. Even in your research title, it has to be present. Kay dapat ma-identify dayon namo ang imong mga variables pagbasa pa lang daan namo sa imong research title. Kay si variables mo good class mo na imong i-measure all throughout your research. So these are properties or characteristics of some event, object, or person that can be assigned with different values or amounts. In conducting quantitative research, especially in experiments, these variables are often manipulated. So we have different kinds of variables. The very common variables that we use are dependent and independent variable. Okay, so the dependent variable is the variable that changes as a result of an intervention or experiment. The changes in dependent variable are what the researcher is trying to measure and test, while the independent variable is hypothesized to affect the dependent variable. An independent variable is what the researcher manipulates to see if it changes the dependent variable. I'll give you an example now. The dependent variable will not work without the help of the independent variable. The independent variable is useless if it doesn't have a dependent variable. So, hatag ko example ha. Si plant, expose nimo siya sa different kinds of light. Ay red, green, and blue. Si red, green, and blue lights are independent variable. Meaning, manipulate nimo sila. Ikaw ang pag gusto og pili kung unsa kind of colors sa lights nga imuhang gusto i-expose si plant. Si plant nga ma-expose ng different kinds of light. Let's see, si plant A, plant B, and plant C, ma-expose sa different colors of lights. Muna si dependent variable. Nga naman. For example, si plant A na-expose sa color red na color light. Si plant B na-expose sa green colored light. Si plant C na-expose sa blue colored light. So red, green, and blue. Ang katong plant nga na-expose sa red light, ang iyahang plant growth is paspa siya mutubo, no? Within a week, tubo na siya og pila ka inches. Katong na-expose sa green light, it took at least 3 weeks, no, for it to grow, no? Or to grow at least pila ka inches. Ang katong plant na na-expose sa blue light is it took a month, no, for it to grow an inch. So meaning, na ay changes ilang plant growth, di ba? So si independent variable, which is ang lights nga imong gi-manipulate, mao na siya ang usa sa mga factor nga nausab ang growth ni plant. Kunyang imong i-measure dira is unsa ka paspason mutubo ang plant if i-expose nimo sa different kinds of lights, which is ang plant is the dependent variable. Maglisod pa jud mo og sabot, ato na po another example. So you have 2 hamsters. Si hamster 1, gitagaan nimo siya og diet of fruits for a month. Si hamster 2, gitagaan nimo siya og food supplement. So kanang food supplement kanang mura siya og dili siya natural nga food, di ba? Kanang mura siya og kanang made sa manufactured siya nga food, no? Dili siya natural unlike sa tong berries or katong fruits. After a month of giving them 2 kinds of diets, no, kay kato si hamster 1 kaon siya fruits, no, or berries. Si hamster 2 food supplement iya ha. Now, katong duha ka hamster nga imong gipakaon for a month, imo silang gi-expose sa usa ka maze. Imong nabal-an nga mas dali makalusot di ay si hamster 1 nga nagkaon og fruits kaysa ni hamster 2 nga nagkaon og food supplement. In short, mas effective di ay ang fruits sa memory sa hamster kaysa sa food supplement. So ang food supplement and fruits class, that is the independent variable. Mo na imuhang ma-manipulate, no, in order to change, no, the memory, or let's say to affect the memory of the hamster. Si hamster class, ang iyahang memory, no, nga na-affected by the kind of diets nga gipakaon sa iyaha is the dependent variable. Kaya ang iyang memory man ang nag-change, no, throughout the entire month. So mo na siya, no. Later on we will have experiments po, no, para to further exercise, no, identifying dependent variable from independent variable. So I'll end my video for now. So I will continue with other variables such as discrete, continuous, the next video. Ato lang putlon siya class, no, because when I will upload this on YouTube, medyo dugay ang pag-upload because of the length of the video. So I have to cut this into 2 parts. So this is part 1, and then I will resume in the next video.